Good morning, students.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Good
Yes,
morning.
good.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. You're all able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
Okay. All right. Good. Right. So the last class we were discussing about what do we mean by schema, what do we mean by instances. Then we saw what are the different categories of data models. We saw what is a data model. Then different categories of data model, how what examples we can take for each of these models. Then we went into three schema architecture, what are the three different levels of schema that you can have. And then we discussed about what to say, data independence, so difference between logical data independence and physical data independence. And then we also took some examples of what is schema diagram, how can we draw a schema diagram. We saw what is an instance, we saw what is also called as an intention and extension. We also saw what is a database state, empty state, initial state, and the snapshot, that is at any point of time you are taking a snapshot, means that the number of records in the database. I think and then that's what we entered with data independence. I think that's where we stopped. In today's class, we will take up one more important concept, which is database languages and interfaces. This is what we are going to learn. So first, let us start with what are the different database languages. Okay. Now, yesterday we have seen what is schema, conceptual schema, internal schema, representational schema, different levels of schema, conceptual schema. Then we had external schema, internal schema, and all that. Right. Now, when we come to database languages, now once the design of a database is completed, okay, and you choose a particular DBMS to implement your database, you have designed the database, and you have chosen which DBMS I should use. Maybe Oracle you are using some other DBMS, that's okay. So you have also decided what is a DBMS that you are going to do. Then what will be the next step after that? The next step after that is to specify the conceptual schema. That means you have to identify conceptual, and you should also specify the internal schema. Conceptual schema means what? I am going to define the database in terms of entities, in terms of attributes, in terms of relationship. And internal schema means I am going to represent how I am going to store the data in the database or in the DBMS. Now, one important language which is used by the DBA in order to define both these schema is your DDL. In the last class itself, last lab probably, I told you what is a DDL, data definition language, which is used to create or which is used to define the structure of the database. That is what we have learned. So this DDL is used by the DBA and by the database designers to define both of these schema. Okay, now the DBMS will have, once you define this, there will always be something called as a, the DBMS will always have a DDL compiler. Now, this DDL compiler function is to process the DDL statements in order to identify what is the description of the schema. You have defined the schema. How do you create the, let us say, for example, you have defined entities, you have defined attributes. How do you create an entity, or how do you create a table? For example, when I say employee is an entity. You have identified this entity. Now, how do you define this? By using the DDL statement called as create. You say create table employee. Okay. Once you do that, the DBMS should understand what have you done. So this particular DDL statement will be compiled, or it will be processed by the DDL compiler in order to understand what is it that you have tried to do. All right. So that is an important language. One of the important language in the DBMS is your DDL or the data definition language. Now, so many times, DDL is used only to specify conceptual schema. So in order to use this concept or define or specify the conceptual schema alone, we make use of DDL. Another language which is used to specify the internal schema, you call it as SDL. SDL stands for storage definition language. Now this storage definition language is used to specify the internal schema. So the mapping, I said in the last class we saw, there is always a mapping between external schema and conceptual schema. There is always a mapping between conceptual schema and the internal schema. That mapping can be done in either of the language. That is, either you can do the mapping using DDL or you can use the mapping, do the mapping using SDL. But most of the relational database DBMS that are there today, there is no specific language that will perform this role of SDL. Generally, it is done by a combination of some parameters and so on. I'll come to that in more detail. One more language that we have is VDL. VDL is called as View Definition Language. Okay. Now, this is used to specify the user views. That is your external schema. We have an external schema or the user at the higher level external schema or the user view. That user view is specified by using the view definition language. Okay. Now these are the languages which we make use of when you are trying to define the schemas. Now, once the database schema is compiled and the database is populated with data, that means your schema is ready. You have implemented the schema. You have put in data into your tables. Everything is ready. Next is what? Next is you want to do some kind of manipulations, right? Now, when I say manipulation, it can be any retrieval of data, it can be insertion, it can be deletion, it can be any kind of modification. These are all nothing but the manipulation that you will be doing. So how do you do this? The DBMS provides one more language which is called as DML or you call it as the data manipulation language. Now, we have learned many already in the last lab session what is a DML and what are the commands that come under DML. I already told you that if you want to deal with any kind of data, then you make use of DML. If you want to deal with the structure of the database, then you make use of DDL statement. Now, what is SQL then? What kind of a language it is? Can anybody tell me? Does it support a DDL or does it support a DML or what does it do? Can we have some answers? No. This SQL is a comprehensive database language. This is a combination of DDL, DML, and VDL. Using SQL, you can perform all the three operations. So I said once the schema is defined, your database is ready, you have created all your database entities and all that using your DDL statements, and then you have entered all your data. The next thing that you want to do is to do some manipulations. So when I say manipulations, it is nothing but you are trying to do some retrieval, you want to do some insertion, you want to do some deletion, you want to do some modification, for which you make use of your DML statements. So also I told you that SQL is a combination of everything. When you use SQL, you can do all these using that one particular language. Now, there are two main types of DML. That is, one is called as a high level or non-procedural DML. Listen very carefully. These are all very important. High level or non-procedural DML. And then you have one more is low level or procedural DML. What is the difference between the two? Low level or the procedural DML. Now, this high level or the non-procedural DML, okay, what does it do? You can either enter the DML statement through your terminal or your monitor or whatever you are calling. You can enter your DML commands through the terminal or monitor, or you can also embed your DML statements in any of the high-level programming language like C, C++, Java. I can embed my DML statements. So high-level DML or non-procedural DML means what? Either you can enter the DML commands through the terminal or the monitor. Okay. So I through the terminal, like we do in SQL. SQL, that's why it's a high-level language or a high-level DML. It is SQL is, because we are able to enter the commands through the terminal or the monitor. We are through the terminal. We are trying to enter the command. Is it not? Insert into table name, values, so many things we are doing, or we are trying to update some data. All that, how are we giving the commands? We are trying to give the commands through the terminal or through the monitor. Either you can do like that, or you can also embed this DML statements in a programming language. Suppose I have written a C program. In that, I want to bring in a DML statement. So that is what you call it as a high level, DML statements or the non-procedural DML statements. Now, when you embed it in the programming language, what will happen? These DML statements has to be compiled by a pre-compiler, and then it should be processed by the DBMS. Okay. Now, the next one is low-level DML or the procedural DML. Now, this low-level DML or the procedural DML, this should always be embedded in programming language only. That means you cannot enter it through any terminal. That is a low-level DML. Low-level DML, what is a low-level DML? Must always be embedded in a general-purpose programming language or any high-level language. Now, this low-level kind of DML will always retrieve individual records only. One by one only it will, you can always retrieve only individual records. Only one record you can retrieve at a time from the database and process each of these records separately. Therefore, you also call this low-level DML as record at a time. Record at a time means what? Why you are calling it as record at a time? Because you can only retrieve only one individual record at a time and process it. Whereas your high-level DML, what happens? Example of high-level DML is nothing but your SQL. Remember that. Okay. High-level SQL. High-level DML, what will happen? You can retrieve many records in a single DML statement. Many records can be retrieved. For example, I say, select star from some table name. You are trying to retrieve all the records. Of course, that is query language statement. But if you want to, let us say, insert, you can try to insert, you can try to update so many records at the same time using SQL. Many records can be updated. That is why they are called as high-level DMLs are also called as set at a time, or you call it as set oriented. Why set at a time? One set of records can be processed at a time using your high-level DML. High-level DML example is, one example of high-level DML is your SQL. Okay. Whereas your low-level or procedural DML, you can only process one record at a time. That's why you call it as record at a time. And low-level DML should always be embedded in a programming language. Whereas high-level DML, you can enter the DML statements either through the terminal or you can even embed it in a programming language. Either way you can. All right. Now, whenever you embed the DML statements into a programming language, whether it is a low-level DML or a high-level DML, whenever you are embedding the DML commands into a programming language, that language into which you are trying to embed, you call that as a host language. That means, suppose I am embedding a DML statement into a C program. So that C program becomes your host language. In that case, your DML is called as a data sublanguage. What is a data sublanguage? Whenever DML statements are embedded into a programming language, where you can embed low-level DML or you can embed a high-level DML. Whenever you are embedding these DML statements into a programming language, that language, that programming language into which you have embedded, no, that is called as a host language, whereas your DML language will be called as a data sublanguage. Okay. So that's about your DDL. There can be DDL, SDL, VDL separate statements, but most of the DBMS they don't use VDL and SDL. Everything is packaged into one language, such as our SQL. SQL is a combination of DDL, VDL, SDL, DML. Everything is there in SQL. So generally, DBMS packages, commercial packages, comes like that only. The next I said is, once you are done with your schema identification and all that, we go for manipulation. When we go for manipulation, we require our DML statements. Again, DML, I said there are two types of DML statements. One is high level and non-procedural DML. The other one is the low level or the procedural DML. High level DML can be entered through the terminal or the monitor. Example of high level DML is our SQL. That is why we are able to enter it through the terminal. We are simply entering the commands, right? Or you can even embed it in a programming language. Whereas low-level DML can be embedded in the programming language only. You cannot enter it through the terminal. And one more difference is, low-level DML can process only individual records at a time, only one record at a time. That is why they are called record at a time. Whereas high-level DML, many records can be processed at the same time. That means a set of records can be process, so you call it a set at a time or set oriented. And whenever you embed a DML statement into a programming language, that language becomes is called as a host language. Your DML becomes the data sublanguage. You call it like that. Any doubts so far? Can I take some questions at this point of time?
Ma'am, can you give the example for low-level DML?
Low level, see, any low level DML, I cannot give you a language example, but any DML command, when I say DML command, it depends, the syntax may vary slightly depending on the language that you are using, but you are going to always embed it in the SQL only. When we come to lab, I will show you some of these commands. But otherwise, SQL is a high level DML wherein you can enter it through the terminal, or you can embed SQL also into a programming language. We will be seeing that also. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions can I take at this point of time? Soumya Shri, have you raised your hand? Any questions? Any doubts? Any queries at this point of time before we proceed further? Soumya? Okay. She has left the meeting. Okay, okay, let me continue. Okay. Right. So next we move on to what are the possible DMA interfaces? Sorry, DBMS interfaces. Okay. Now, can you answer me what are the possible interfaces that we can have? Can I have some answers? What are the possible interfaces? Any database, we would have seen many websites. What are the possible interface that you have come across? Can I have some answers?
Ma'am.
Yeah.
The GUI.
GUI, okay, very good.
GIS.
GIS, okay. Any other answer? Somebody is answering here. CLI, very good, okay. Any other answer? What are the different types of interface? Come on.
Ma'am, form-based.
Form, very good, very good. Form-based.
Text-based.
Very good. Text-based.
Menu based, ma'am.
Menu based, yes. All right. Yeah. So when we try to list out the possible user-friendly interfaces that can be provided by a DBMS, the first thing that comes to us is always a menu-based interface. Then we can have form-based interface. We can have graphical user interface. We can have natural language processing or natural language interface. Then the other possible interfaces, you can have speech input and output. Then what are the different interface that we can have for parametric users? And what are the possible interface that can be given or can be implemented for a DBA, who's the most important person of this DBMS, right? So these are the possible interface or user-friendly interface that a DBMS can provide based on the different application, based on the requests that are taken from the user. Every user, as we have already discussed, there are many end users of a database, correct? So each end user will have their own perspective. Each end user will want his own way of interacting with the DBMS. So the DBMS has to provide different types of interfaces in order to support the different users or different requirements. All right. Now the first one is menu based. So when we say menu based, the user is always presented with a list of options in the form of a menu, right? You have a drop down box from which you can always try to select. Okay, menu, what is the advantage of this menu based interface? I don't need to memorize all the specific commands. I don't need to get to know what is the syntax of my query language. So how is your query getting formed, or how is your query getting framed? You try to give some options from a menu that is displayed by the system. So using these pull down menus, depending on what data you are trying to give, you are the query is going to be getting formed. Okay, so they're also provided generally in case of browsing interfaces. When you have a menu based interface, so that means you basically have a list of options from which you can pick and choose what you want. Okay, so based on what you are trying to select, your query gets framed. As I told you already, you have some canned transactions, that is pre-programmed, pre-compiled transactions are there, wherein you try whatever options you are giving, it will get filled up in these transactions and then the query gets executed. Very important advantage of a menu based is I don't have to remember any syntax. I don't have to remember any commands. So that's why by giving the options, the query can be executed. That is your menu based. Generally, if you have any browsing kind of applications, you will see this menu based interface. All of you would have seen at least one application where you have a menu based, right? Not a
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, not a difficult one to understand. Next is our form based interface. So it displays a form to each of the user. User can fill out this form entries to insert. If I want to insert new data, I will simply fill up this particular form. I can fill out only certain values, so which are very mandatory. Even in that case, I will try to fill up these forms, and then the DBMS will frame a query out of the data that I have filled in. Many DBMS will also have this what to call form specification languages. Many DBMS also supports this. For example, even we have SQL star forms. That's a form-based language using which you can specify the query using a form. It is designed along in connection with your database schema. So that way, even there are something called as Oracle forms. So all these are nothing but your different types of interface which you can use in order to provide your query, right? Then come to graphical user interface. All of you know that they provide, when I say graphical user interface, you basically have a diagrammatic form, correct? and it's actually a combination of both your menu and your form. It uses both GUIs, generally utilize both menu as well as form. You also have a pointing device, let's say mouse, using which you can try to pick certain parts of the application and then provide that as a query, GUI. Natural language interface, any idea what it is? Form based, menu based, GUI, all this, all of you are very much well aware of, I know that. Natural language interface, what do you mean by that? Now, when we talk of natural language interface, it is nothing but you are trying to give your request in the English-like language. In the English-like language, I try to give my request. One important application is your search engines. So let us take your Google search engine. How do you specify? You are trying to specify it in the form of a English-like language, is it not? Suppose you want to search something, or you want to find out some information about something. You simply write the same thing, is it not? How to do this, like that, right? That's nothing but you are actually giving your request. Based on your request, which is in the form of your English language, the query gets executed. It will search based on those keywords that you have entered, and then it gives you the different web pages. But it generally is not picking up very well because of there is a lot of inconsistencies, and there is a lot of ambiguity when you try to write this natural language interface. When you give your query in the form of English, what happens? Each one can understand it in a different way, is it not? So if I want to search NBA website, let us say according to me, it is National Board of Accreditation. So I am interested in accreditation, so I will simply give in Google search NBA. What it will understand that is, I have observed is, it will show me National Basketball Association. Okay. So that way the interpretation becomes different. That is not, Google is not wrong. Correct. Google is also right. But I thought Google will understand NBA as National Board of Accreditation. But it took it as National Basketball Association. So this kind of inconsistencies and ambiguity will be there. Then again, I had to refine my query and give it in a different way. I had to give it as National Board of Accreditation. Then I could open up National Board of Accreditation. So that's how it is. It is not very easy to understand, and do it is a little difficult. Next is speech input and output. Where do we come across this? Can you tell me? Why are you joining so late, Harshit? Huh? Charan, Harshit and all. Why are you joining so late to the class? Only half an hour over. Yeah, somebody was answering me. Speech input output.
Google Voice.
Very good. Yes, Google Voice is Alexa. All of you have heard of that, is it not? That's again, that's again another way of giving input, speech input output. That is again. Then, if you are talking of other examples, like I said, Alexa is one, Google Voice is one, and we come across so many customer care phone calls, is it not? So we try to call them, and then you press 1 for English, press 2 for Hindi, whatever nonsense. So all that is nothing but your speech input and output. Based on the input that you are trying to give, you may give it through your keypad, but still it is all based on your speech input and output. Sometimes you get your your recorded information about train departures, train arrivals, flight departures and flight arrivals. You try to dial in some number 198 something, then it will tell you what are the trains that are coming in, how late they are coming in. So all these are nothing but speech input and output. So speech input is actually detected using a set of predefined words, and then you set up these parameters that are supplied to the queries, and that's how your query gets framed and the query gets executed. So that's for speech input output. Then we have interfaces for parametric users. Who are parametric users? Last class we discussed about end users, the previous class. Who are parametric users? If you forget like this, then what will we learn? Huh? So parametric users, they form the majority of end users. I told you. We are all parametric users. We make use of ATM, we make use of bank tellers, we make use of reservation websites. All these users are all nothing but your parametric end users. So interface for parametric users means, suppose we have to provide some specific interface for this parametric users, because you have to perform some operations repeatedly. Repeatedly means when I open IRCTC, I'm not going to do anything else but book a ticket. I'm not going to do anything else but cancel a ticket. Correct. So that means most of the users will open the website and book a ticket or cancel a ticket. More than this, very rarely you want to simply see which route the train takes. That is all rare, very rare application. Again, I go into the ATM, either I withdraw money or deposit money. That's a repeated operation that is done by a parametric user. So since they have this kind of repeated information that is done, so you are trying to again give the query in the form of some particular keywords. That's all. You enter your PIN. So your PIN number becomes a keyword. Your amount to be withdrawn becomes your data. So as I told you already, we have some canned transactions. The query is going to be framed by the data that you are giving it. And then the query is already there, pre-programmed, pre-compiled. It will take this data and process it and give you the results. So some kind of a specific interface is provided, because parametric users form the majority of your users of most of the website. The last one is interface for a DBA. Now this DBA is one who is going to have all the privileged commands. All the commands that others don't have, he will have. So some, so he should have an interface such that he can include some command for creating accounts. Correct? You should have an interface for creating accounts, for deleting your accounts, for granting some authorization, changing the schema, if I want to reorganize the storage structure. So all this work is done by DBA, for which he has to be provided with some special kind of interface. So the same interface as you and me are given, if it is given for DBA also, then it becomes difficult. He will not be able to do the other jobs which we are not doing. He has to create accounts. He has to create username, password. He has to do some kind of, grant some privileges. He has to revoke some privileges. He has to give some rights, permissions to read a file, delete a file, modify a file to a particular user, not to all users again. So all these changes, to do all these operations, he should be given a different set of interface. So these are the different types of interfaces that a DBMS can provide. Can I take some questions at this point of time? Any doubts so far? So we have finished with DBMS languages and DBMS interfaces. Any questions, any queries, doubts at this point of time? A minute or two before we proceed further. So if you can list out all the interfaces, you can put it in your own words. It should not be a problem. Menu based, form based, what is GUI? All these are very simple. All of you know what all these are. So it's not very difficult to write. I'll be sharing the notes with you all after the end of module. Okay. Any doubts? Are you all there or not?
Ma'am, do we need to
Yeah.
explain the interfaces or just mention them?
No, you have to explain. You cannot simply mention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simply mentioning will not fetch you any marks. You have to explain at least a little. That's why I said, see, if you list it out, if you can keep all this interface in mind and you list it out, you can explain it in your own words. Is it not? Menu based, nobody need to explain. You can write it in your own word. You know what is menu based, so it is easy for us to
Yes,
write.
ma'am.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so let's proceed then. We are going to go into a very important concept. The database system environment. Okay, now this has a huge, what they will ask you is what are the different component modules which make up your DBMS, component modules of a DBMS, and how do they interact with each other? What are the different component modules When we talk of a system environment of a DBMS, we will give more importance on what are the component modules which are there as part of the DBMS, and how do these components interact with among themselves, so that we are using the DBMS very efficiently. All right. So that's an important one. And this has a huge diagram. Now, it was easy for me to show you a PPT and go ahead, but I don't want to do that, because this diagram, you are also supposed to write it in the examination. So I want to show you how easily you can write this diagram. That's why I just want to do, I haven't used any PPT here to show it to you. Okay. Now, a DBMS is a very complex software system. Okay, let's all agree that. So here we are going to discuss the types of software components that constitute the DBMS, and the types of system software with which the DBMS is going to interact. Okay, what are all the different components of DBMS and how all of these together interact with each other? That forms your system environment, right? Now, first and foremost, I will put down who are the different users. For example, the DBA and the staff, they are the users. And then you have, please note how I am going to put down this diagram. You have to write it in this manner only, so that you can write it based on your understanding. If you sit and by heart this diagram, it is going to be very, very difficult. First step is what? I am putting down the users. DBA, staff, casual users, and then I have application programmers. They are also users because they are writing the softwares. And then I have the parametric users. Parametric users, I said they form the majority of users. So what do I do first part? Horizontally, I write down all the users. DBA, staff, casual users, application programmers, parametric users. How each of these are going to interact with different modules of your DBMS is what we are going to see. Okay. Now, this DBA or the DBA staff, anything, what are they going to write? They are going to basically write the DDL statements. He is not going to write a DML or whatever it is. DBA's work is to write a create, is it not? Or he writes some privileged commands, which you and I will not write. Okay. DBA staff or DBA staff, he is going to do the most probably they will all write the DDL statements, that means the creation of your database, or some kind of privileged commands also they will write, because they have to give authorization, revoke authorization, username, password, create some accounts. All this is privileged commands. Now, once the DDL statements are written, what happens? These DDL statements are compiled by the DDL compiler. Now, there is every DBMS will have a DDL compiler. Similar to when we have a high-level language program, you have a C compiler to compile your instructions, right? So similarly, when you write a DDL statement, there will be a DDL compiler which is going to process those statements. And then you process it, then it goes and sits inside your system catalog or dictionary. I said your catalog will always have all the information about your database, or you can also write it as data dictionary. So whatever it has compiled, it will keep a copy in your data dictionary or the catalog. All right, that part of your DDL is over. Now, this privileged commands will also have to be executed. Let me leave it at that point for now. I will come back to it. Now, next we will come to this one. Casual users. So casual users, I said, they are going to use the database very occasionally, and every time they see the database, they want some different kind of updates and information and all that. So what do they do basically? They write some kind of interactive query. How do they use the DBMS or the database? They try to write some interactive queries. Now, what happens once I write the query? What will happen? This query is passed on to a module which is called as the query compiler. So you are going to have a compiler within the data DBMS, which is going to compile all the query. And then it goes into a query optimizer. Query optimizer means you try to make your complex queries very simple. See, it is not only essential to write the query and get your results, but you should also be able to write very efficient and very simple queries. That is, there lies your efficiency. And query optimizer will also see to it that the performance of your database is always optimal. That means it should always be best. So query optimizer, we will take it up in the last unit once again. Let's not bother too much about it now. So, okay. Now, what does the query casual user do? He writes an interactive query. Those queries are sent to the query compiler. The query compiler, from there, it goes to the query optimizer, and then I stop it at that point. Let me come back later. Okay. Now, next set of users are who? Application programmers. What they do? They write the application programs, obviously. Programmer he is. So he is going to write some application programs. Now, when he writes the application program, again, this application program will have your embedded DML statements also. It will have the high-level language program statements also. For example, when I write a C program, I'm writing a C program. In that C program, I am going to embed some queries. I'm going to embed some DML statements. DML statements are nothing but my query. Okay. So this application program will pass through a pre-compiler. Okay. This pre-compiler means it will have a host language compiler. That is your C compiler, let us say, host language compiler. It will also have a DML compiler. Both can't be compiled by the same compiler. In your programming, your application, I'll come again. Application programmer is writing an application program. Now, this application program is an embedded one. Embedded one means what? It's a high-level language program, C program, let us say, in which you have embedded some queries. You have embedded some DML statements. Now, so you have C statements also. You have DML statements also. Now, these two have to be compiled separately. You cannot compile both of them together. C compiler will not compile your DML statements. DML compiler will not compile your C statements. So what are you doing here? You are passing it through a pre-compiler. Once this pre-compiler, what it will do? It will separate out the high-level language program statements as well as your DML statements. Both are going to get compiled. Compiled, and then what you get? You get the compiled transactions. You get the compiled transactions. Okay, put it a big one, compiled transactions. Okay. So, application programs are passed through a pre-compiler. Pre-compiler separates out your C statements and your DML statements. C statements are sent to the C compiler, DML statements are sent to the DML compiler. Both are compiled, and then finally you get to the compiled transactions, right? Now this parametric users, next last part, he will directly make use of these compiled transactions. Who are parametric users? As I told, ATM is an example. So transaction is already there, compiled, pre-compiled. You are simply going and putting your data and using it, right? Those compiled transactions is what I'm talking about, which will be directly used by the parametric users. What happens next? So I have come up to this point. This is your first half of the diagram, top half of the diagram, which tells how the users are interacting with the DBMS. The lower part of the diagram, which I'm going to write now, will tell you the internals of the DBMS. It is going to tell you the internals, how internal storage is happening, how internally it is going to get executed. I'll just put a bullseye here, shows which is an activity that is happening there. Okay, this privileged commands will come here. This compile transactions will also come here. Query optimizer, those will also, this one, this is also coming at this point. All this will now go into a, what you call the runtime database processor, which is going to execute all your queries and give you the result. Runtime database processor. Okay. Now, in order to runtime database processor, what is it going to do? It is going to execute all the queries which are coming from DBA. It is coming from casual users, coming from application programmers. It is coming from parametric users. All this are going to enter into the runtime database processor. Once this runtime database processor, it is going to process all the queries. Different types of queries are coming in. All these queries are going to be executed or processed by this runtime database processor, or rather the database engine, and then you get back your results. While doing this, it will make use of certain modules. What are they? It will use a stored data manager. That means some data may be stored there, it may require that, or whatever query you are stored, executed, that will go and get stored there. In spite of that, you will have a stored database wherein all your programs or queries will get executed. And all your input and output from your database will also come here. Right? This query optimizer will also make use of your data dictionary. Data dictionary is something which is used by everybody. The compiler will also use data dictionary. This runtime processor will also use data dictionary. So everybody will make use of this data dictionary. In between, when all this is getting executed, your concurrency control, backup, recovery, all that will also play an important role. Recovery, backup, all these are different modules inside the DBMS, concurrency control. All this will also play a role when the DBMS wants to execute or do this execution is happening. So this is how you try to write this particular diagram. Don't simply by heart this and simply go on writing whichever way you want. That will be really bad. Now what comes here? Here I had written this, all this comes here. What comes here? DBMS, this part, DBA commands will come, queries will come, transactions will come. Everything will come from the top half to the second half, where the runtime processor is going to execute all your queries by making use of several other modules. It makes use of data dictionary, it makes use of stored database to store your data. It uses concurrency control because simultaneous transactions may be going on, so there should not be any problem. Makes use of recovery, backup, all this will play their own role in order to do this. Okay, so database system environment. Let me summarize it. Database system environment. What are we going to learn under this? This is nothing but it tells us about the component modules. What are the different components that are there in the DBMS and how they are interacting among themselves so that the query gets executed. This is a very, very important question. Along with this diagram, you have to explain this. So once you are clear with the diagram, how to draw it and all that, it will be easy for you to write this answer. Don't copy from the textbook and write however you want. You start writing, you will go wrong. It is difficult to remember. No, once you understand, it is easy to write. Okay, let me summarize again. First step, what are we going to do? We are going to horizontally put down the different users. Who are our users? DBA staff is an important user. Casual users, application programmers, parametric users. These are our users. Put down those users horizontally on the top. Then next level, next horizontal row, what are you going to write? What are the different kinds of statements each of these users are going to write? That is what we are going to put down here. Okay, coming to DBA staff, what are the kind of commands he's going to write? He's going to write the DDL statements. They will also write the privileged commands. Okay, DDL statements in order to create your database, create statements, alter statement, all this will be written by the DBA. Or they may also write your privileged commands. Privileged commands means you have to give authorization, you have to revoke authorization, give some permission to some users to view some file, some permission to some user to only delete the file, something like that, different rights, different permissions. So that is all will come under this privileged command. Okay, so let us leave it at that. Now, next user we have is casual users. What does the casual user do? He will write an interactive query. He wants to check something in the website, so I will write an interactive query. Okay. Now, this interactive query, what will happen? It will go through a query compiler. It will go through a query compiler and then a query optimizer. Let us stop at that point now. Next, you have application programmers. So this application programmer, what he will do? He will write obviously application programs, right? Now, this application program, he's not going to write a simple C program to add two numbers. That is not his intention. You are dealing with a database. So I should write a program in which I will also be able to embed some queries and execute them as part of my program, right? So when I write an application program, my application program will contain the C. Suppose I'm writing a C program. It will contain C statements. It will also contain some DML statements or queries. Okay. So it will go through a precompiler. Now this precompiler will separate out the C language statements and the DML statements. Both are going to be compiled by different compilers. High level language C compiler, and also you have every DBMS will have a DML compiler which will compile the statements. And then what is output of both the compilers is nothing but your compiled transactions. That is what an application programmer will do. Parametric users, he will directly access the compiled transaction. So this one up to here, it is the first half or top half of the diagram, which talks about who are the users, how do they interact with the DBMS. Next part, the bottom half of this diagram talks about our internally what is happening within the DBMS. Now we have written the queries, it has got compiled, all that is fine. After that, what happens? So what's happening here? The DBA commands, then the queries from the casual users, compiled transaction from the application programmers, parametric users, all that will come into your runtime database processor. This runtime database processor is your database engine, which is going to execute your queries and give back your results. That's all is going to happen. Now, while this executes these queries, it cannot simply execute on its own. It requires supporting utilities, is it not? So what does it make use of? It will make use of a data dictionary. It will make use of the catalog to understand what is the query all about. And then it makes use of the concurrency control because simultaneously queries may be getting executed. It makes use of your recovery. It makes use of the backup module. All this is required because if there is any crash, if there is any problem, the database has to come back to its initial state. So it makes use of all these other modules, stored data manager, all that. Finally, it stores it in the database also. All this is done and then the result is given back to the user. So this is how this particular database system environment means. Please write the diagram, try to understand it and write it this way only. Don't start from any end and finish it at any other end. You will definitely go wrong. Is this clear? You want what are assets are? I'm not understanding your questions, Akrut. Seeing something in the chat window. Anyway. Any questions on this database system environment? Anybody? Any doubts? Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? Can you send the diagram if possible? Yes, I will be sending. Don't worry. I will send Rupak. I will send you the notes of this first module. Along with that, all this will come. Okay, don't worry. That way. Assets, I am not understanding. What is the context in which you are asking me? Akrut? Creating assets. No, I am not sure. Where did you see this? In DBA interface. DBA interface will have creating assets means probably creating some privileged, giving some privileged commands, and these things are all done by DBA. So maybe it is in that context. Any doubts in this system environment? Others? Did you all follow what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
What about others?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, don't write a diagram simply, just like that. Please follow the method in which I have done it. That's the reason I myself showed it to you here. Otherwise, it was easy for me to just show you a PPT slide and explain it and go away.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Mine, for all of you, is it breaking?
No, ma'am.
Then,
No, ma'am.
Now then my connection is good. Ramtullah, please mute if you have anything to say. Put it on the chat window because there is a lot of disturbance at your end. Right. So please don't. It was easy for me to show you a PPT slide. I had made a PPT slide also ready. I thought. I don't know what happened. My connection got dropped suddenly. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. No worries.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Fine, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that's what I told. Don't try to draw this diagram as and how you like. Do it properly as in the way I told you to do. Okay. That way it will become easy because understanding will become easy so that you can put down, even you cannot tend to forget anything. If you try to by heart and try to write from any end, if you start writing from below, then it is totally absurd. Okay. Okay, so let us stop the class at this point of time. And tomorrow is the lab class at 9:30 for the whole class, obviously. So I think by now all of you have installed your software.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So tomorrow's class also, tomorrow's class also we will be learning some basic commands initially for 1 hour or so, in continuation with what we did in the last lab. After that, maybe we'll be starting. We'll try to do the first exercise. We'll start trying on our own. Okay. And this Saturday 4th hour is our lab instruction class. No, in that from this Saturday onwards, every Saturday I will be telling you what we will be doing in the next lab session. That is a next week Thursday's lab. What we have to do, that I will be actually focusing in the Saturday 4th hour class. Most probably I'll be doing like that because in lab class we will be doing directly into SQL. If you have to do it in directly in SQL, first you have to have an understanding of the lab question. Okay, whatever exercise they have given, we must first write an ER diagram. We should write a schema diagram, try and understand what is given to us. Only then you can create and write the queries. Okay, so it requires 1 hour of discussion before we go into SQL and start doing every exercise. I think there are around 5 exercises in your lab. For each of these exercises, we require 1 hour of explanation, and then only I will be taking you to SQL to do that program. Simply directly, I will not go to SQL and ask you to start creating and all. It is not possible because first you should understand what is that you want to do, how to build a query and all that stuff. Okay, so probably last Saturday, of course, I did a theory class only, so that's okay. So tomorrow, initially 1 hour or so, we'll be doing the basic commands. We'll continue with what we did in the last class. After that, probably we'll see how much time is left, and then we'll begin with the first exercise. If it is not possible, Saturday I will explain that first program to you, and then next Thursday we'll be doing the SQL. That's how we will be doing explanation of the every program in Saturday's class, followed by you have to do that in the Thursday's lab. So attending Saturday's 4th hour will become very important because if you don't attend there, doing it on Thursday may become difficult. Okay. Any questions? Abhilash, I think you were asking yesterday some installation problem. You can check with Shashi once. Are you there? Aren't you attendance, Anaga?
Yes, ma'am.
Abhilash? He's not there. Akhil?
Yes, ma'am.
Akrut?
Yes, ma'am.
Anusha? Aravind?
Present, ma'am.
Arifullah?
Yes, ma'am.
Dhanaka?
Present, ma'am.
Banu?
Yes, ma'am.
Bhargav? Rahmatullah?
Present, ma'am.
Chaitra?
Present, ma'am.
Chandana?
Present, ma'am.
Charan?
Yes, ma'am.
Darshan? Darshan?
Present, ma'am.
Usha?
Yes, ma'am.
Dakshayani?
Present, ma'am.
Ishan?
Present, ma'am.
Harshit?
Present, ma'am.
Hemalata?
Present, ma'am.
Uma?
Present, ma'am.
Jayant?
Present, ma'am.
Divya?
Yes, ma'am.
Kaushik?
Present, ma'am.
Lakshmi? Lavanya?
Present, ma'am. Ma'am, she
Manish?
has put in chat
Yes,
box.
yes.
Present, ma'am.
Manoj?
Present, ma'am.
Mohit?
Yes, ma'am.
Noel?
Present, ma'am.
Navya?
Present, ma'am.
Nikhil?
Present, ma'am.
Panindra?
Present, ma'am.
Pawan? Pooja?
Present, ma'am.
Purnima? Yeah.
Present, ma'am.
Raman?
Yes, ma'am.
Rashmi?
Present, ma'am.
Deepak?
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Kumar?
Yes, ma'am.
Samir?
Present, ma'am.
Santosh? Chadar?
Present, ma'am.
Sharon?
Yes, ma'am.
Shashank?
Present, ma'am.
Peter?
Present, ma'am.
Rani?
Present, ma'am.
Soumya?
Present, ma'am.
Spurti?
Present, ma'am.
Vishnu?
Present, ma'am.
Sugandhini?
Present, ma'am.
Sushma? Sushma is not seen here. Sushmita?
Present, ma'am.
Sushmita, you?
Present, ma'am.
Tirtha?
Present, ma'am.
Tripti?
Present, ma'am.
Varsha?
Present, ma'am.
Veena?
Present, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, Bhavan, present, ma'am.
Pawan is present, yes, I saw. Sushma is not here, so I have marked her absent. Sushma Ivy. She is marked absent. Then Santosh, he hasn't answered me. Was he there? I don't know. Rest is fine. Yeah. Abhilash, I have marked you present. Lakshmi, I have marked you. Yeah. Okay, so tomorrow's lab, let us meet tomorrow in the lab session. All right. Please get your software installed if you're still not done, and be present for the lab. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.